Hey, this is Shelby from edTPA the Easy Way, and if you are watching this video, I'm sorry, because that most likely means you didn't pass edTPA the first time. But don't worry, you are in the right spot. So I have tips for you in this video for what to do next if you did not pass edTPA on your first attempt. Stay tuned. So, it's not a big deal. Many people have not passed the edTPA on the first try and pass it and are now thriving teachers. But I have worked with multiple people who have failed the first time, and what I have learned, I want to share with you. So there are basically a few categories that people fall into, but the first thing that you need to do is really read through your score report. So when you get your results from edTPA, there is a score report breaking down your rubrics, and it tells you what score from 1 to 5 you got on each of the sections, and then it tells you if you passed or failed. So when I took it, the passing score for my state, I believe, was a 45. Don't quote me on that. It's been a little bit. But either way, for example, let's say the passing score for your state is 45. If you get your score report back and let's say you got a 41, in that case, I would say you will probably not have to redo your entire edTPA. You can take some strategies and go back through and edit and resubmit the portion that you failed, because you will not always have to resubmit every single part or every section. So for example, you might have passed your planning section and your instruction section. That would be like all of your lesson plans and then when you record your video, but maybe you failed in your assessment section. So in that case, you would only have to resubmit the third task for assessment. You would not have to resubmit the whole thing. So if that's the case, I would say you need to get your handbook from edTPA, or if that's way too much, then I will send you to my Teachers Pay Teachers store, edTPA the Easy Way, where I have written out simplified rubrics for everything on each rubric, on each task that they are looking for. I have them for a couple subjects now, and I am adding more. I have them for elementary education, elementary literacy, elementary math, middle grades math, and secondary math. And if there is a subject that you want me to make a rubric for, I would be glad to do that. All I need is for you to email me, and I'll leave my email below, the document that edTPA has sent you through most likely your cohort or your professors or whoever will send this to you. It's called Understanding Rubric Level Progressions. It's a supplement guide that goes with the edTPA handbook, and itself, it's probably 50 or more pages. But what I have done in this product that I've created, which is how I passed the edTPA with flying colors, is that I broke it down and just simplified it and told you this is what you need to do to aim for a 3 in every category or a 4, which would by and large exceed expectations and you would pass. So I would say if you're in that category where you only failed by a few points, you need to either go get the rubric on Teachers Pay Teachers, so you really know what to look for if you haven't already. If you already had it, you need to go back through, cross-reference your score report. If it says you're at assessment 3, your third task in assessment, and that's where you're missing, then you need to cross-reference the rubrics and see what you're missing. Go back through, and most likely there was just some areas where you needed to be more explicit in what you were sharing. You might have stayed to service level to get full points. Now, I will say with the assessment task, if you failed there and you failed like miserably in the assessment section, that might be one scenario where you might have to go back and redo your lessons, or at least go back to your students, like if you're still in the classroom, and ask them to take a new assessment based on the lessons that you've already recorded. Even if you're past that unit, review is everything. We're drilling it into their brains. So don't worry if that's the case. If you're still in the classroom, you might need to rewrite a new assessment and have them take it so you can have the feedback and then go from there. But hopefully you will just need to make some edits, be more specific in your answers, and then you'll be able to resubmit it and you'll be good to go. Now, the second case would be if you fail by, I would say, more than 8 or 10 points probably, because there are multiple things that you're going to need to do, and it most likely comes down to your overall lesson plan structure, and that's not something that you can go in and edit your answers to. You might have failed because you did not plan adequate lessons for what they were trying to see. And if that is the case, again, you need to really look at your rubrics, and before you do anything, when I made mine, I kind of like to work backwards. I read through the rubrics to see, okay, what are they expecting me to show them in this assessment? And from there, then I planned lessons, right? Like you reverse engineer all of it. You look at what they want to see in your videos, so you plan your lessons accordingly, and then you work backwards. So you make sure that by the time you get to the end of your lessons and you're giving them an assessment, you have actually gathered the information that edTPA is looking for you to submit, if that makes sense. So I am so sorry if you're in that boat, and obviously, no one I've ever talked to wants to redo the whole thing. But I have seen many cases of where people don't want to, and they try and just go back and edit their answers without changing the actual lesson that they presented, and they still end up in the same boat, and they fail a second time because it wasn't just about their answers, it was about the lesson plan in general. And by that point, who knows, you might not even be in the classroom anymore, and it might be hard to get back in. So I would just say, take my advice the first time. If you fail by more than a few points in more than a couple sections, just go ahead, bite the bullet, and replan some new lessons. The third thing I would say is if you might fail because you get an unscorable code. And there are a number of them. I triple checked everything before I submitted it because I was so afraid I was going to do all of this work and then do something silly like upload a file to the wrong section, or accidentally upload my draft file instead of my complete file, or have my video not be able to be seen, or whatever else. So those are different things you get unscorable codes for. So if you got unscorable, it might be the case that you don't actually have to do more work at all, but something technical was off and you need to go back and see what they said and then resubmit. Maybe you were scrambling at the last minute to submit and you forgot to answer one section on one of the parts. If you don't answer a section, it is unscorable. You have to at least have some answer. So that could be, another reason. So that basically sums up what might happen if you did not pass edTPA the first time. And of course, if this is the case, if you are still working in a school, I would talk to your supervising teacher in your classroom of your school. I would go to your professors and ask them to look through things again with you, take the score report, lay it up against the rubrics, and really get some help. But if I could give any advice, it would be don't be too stubborn to redo it, so that you're not wasting even more time and then end up outside of the classroom when you realize you failed again, and then you're really in deep water. So I guess the last question would be, what if you're in that case? What if you have failed and you are no longer in a classroom, you finished your student teaching, you have not been certified, you are not in a school, but you have to redo edTPA. What now? And I would say reach back out to the school where you had your student teaching internship, or another school in your county that you maybe have had relationships with, and just find a teacher, tell them, or their department chair, hey, this is what's happening. I would love if I could come and spend a few days in your classroom helping you out, and that you would give me the opportunity to film lessons that I teach with your students. I need to do this to get my certification, and honestly, I'm sure there are so many people who would be glad for a 3 to 5 day step-in teacher who's still going to be teaching the subjects, and not like a sub who's not teaching, but then it would also allow you to film. One thing to say with that, though, you would need to get those students to sign that the confidentiality agreement or whatever, to make sure that that is all squared away with edTPA. But again, I hope maybe you're just watching this video in advance to wonder what will happen if I do fail. But if you are in that boat, I just want to say you can do it. You can do it. Just really focus in, grab your rubrics, check out my TPT store, and again, if you have a subject area you want me to create my rubrics for, just email them to me. I will leave my email in the description box below, and I'll be glad to do that for you. But for now, I wish you good luck and have a great day.